All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jason Flame. Welcome to the Master Motivation Podcast today. It's Monday Motivation, and I'm really excited about my guest today. So let me introduce him really quick. This is Robert Perez. He's the owner of Perez Family Funeral Home located in Moorpark, Camarillo, Ojai, Santa Paula, and Fillmore. In 2002, Robert received a calling when his grandmother passed away to join the funeral industry. He has been serving families for the past 20 years. In 2014, Robert was elected to the Moorpark Unified School Board District. Uh, let's try that again. Moorpark Unified School District Board. Thank you. He has been married to his wife Pauline for almost 20 years. They have 4 children together. Robert grew up in Moorpark. His family is a pioneer family that arrived in Moorpark over 100 years ago. This past year, Robert has been focusing his time on educating our community about funeral pre-planning. What he learned during the pandemic is many families were not prepared, and he wants to make sure everyone is aware of this service. Robert has a passion for serving others. Not only is he a funeral director, but he is a funeral counselor. He is always there to listen to his families no matter what time of day it is. And I'm really excited to have you here today. So thank you, Robert.
Hi, Jason. Good to be here with you. It seems like this happened so fast. We planned this, or you asked me back in December if I wanted to do this, and July seemed so far away, but here we are.
Here we are. And gosh, this year has gone by so quickly as it is. But let's mention some of these guests that are watching. We got Joy Vincione is watching right now. We have a Facebook user. I apologize. You're probably watching from a group or from one of the other
I
streams.
think
Drop us your name.
that's Gabby.
Oh, is that Gabby? Hi,
Yeah.
Gabby. And Donna Trella, and another one just saying Robert is awesome. So we already have a bunch of viewers, which is amazing to start. I kind of joked pre-interview that you have the long-standing record of my interview on the Moorpark Chamber of Commerce Chamber Chat, or Chairman Chat as it once was known. So I know that people are going to be tuning in. And the thing is, Robert, I get super excited about my guests because I've met a lot of martial artists and I have interviewed a ton of martial artists, but it's rare that I get to interview people in my own community who are such an inspiration. I've told you this many times before that you are a huge inspiration for why we are such strong community supporters. I see your example, and my wife and I are just blown away by how much you give back and how much you do here in the community. So it's an inspiration to us all, and more people should follow in your footsteps.
Thank you, and same to you and Jackie. It's great to work alongside you in many ways. Many groups and many fundraisers and everything. It seems we're always there to to volunteer or to offer assistance in any way.
And that's what I love, just about our communities. We do have some great community supporters. We see a lot of the same people at these events that you're talking about, fundraisers. But real quick, one more. Jackie is watching, so thank you, Jackie, for watching.
Hi,
And
Jackie.
Robert Perez is the best. We need to clone him. Okay. Well, I mean, you can maybe figure that out with the funeral services, how to clone people. That would be your next service.
I wish I could have cloned myself the last 2 years. That would have been nice.
I bet. Well, listen, let's do a quick call out to the image that's right behind you, because for those of you that don't know Robert and don't know anything about his family or the funeral home, but the picture behind you, I know is really important to you. So why don't you start with that?
Well, that picture is my brother, and his name is Rudy Perez Jr. We called him Junior. Um, we lost him last year in the pandemic. My brother started with me in the funeral home. It was myself, him, and my parents when we first started about 20 years ago, and we just we worked together. And I used to tell people, would ask me, how do you work with your family every single day, 7 days a week, and then still have to do holidays? But you know what, I'm grateful that I did, because we lost him in January of last year so suddenly. I have so many memories of him, just in this industry, and I still feel him a lot here. And I made that picture back there, and just dedicated it to all of them, all of those we lost during the pandemic. We lost a lot of friends. We lost a lot of colleagues, relatives. It just, I can't even believe that we lived it. And it was a tough time.
Hmm.
January last year, we had over 100 cases, and we didn't even know what to do. So we're just grateful that the families were patient and understanding. They worked with us as there was new laws. As every day the laws seem to change. That's the way it was in the funeral industry, where we were having to have services outdoors. I feel like I'm talking about something 20 years ago. It was just 2 years ago.
Hmm.
The funerals were never done outside. We had to rent tents. We had to set up all of our equipment outside. We were given rules where only 2 family members can come in and view their loved one. Then it went to like 10. And, once we went outdoors, we were able to work with that a little. But there were many challenges. The challenge was storage. How do we work with coolers? Every hospital was inundated with death. And fortunately, we have a big space and different locations. We were able to add some extra cooling rooms to our locations.
Hmm. Yeah, it was a tough time for many of us in many different industries, whatever business you were in. But for you to actually deal with the death of, unfortunately, so many people, and just change literally everything. But in the face of your brother's death, you keep his memory alive with the Rudy Perez Memorial Fund. Talk about that, and talk about what you've done with that so far. Because
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
Jason. Yes, my brother was very passionate about youth sports, and anyone who knew Rudy knew that if you ever asked him to donate to anything having to do with sports, he would have given you his last $5. And he was at every football game. I would be down on the field, and I could hear him screaming and just calling the play. His voice was just so powerful that you knew where he was when he was talking. So we wanted to put something together in his honor, because you know my brother, I have to keep him alive. He was very full of life, and just you know I don't I try not to say he's deceased or he's gone, because his presence is so well known. So the foundation, we got together, and we decided that um, we should do something to give back to the community. I've always admired the Ruben Castro Foundation. They do such good work for Moorpark. And I got together with the family, and I said, let's see if we can do this for Rudy. And as you know, foundations are not easy to put together. There's just so much that you have to do in order to get it going. But I knew Rudy was gonna just help us move through this whole all the obstacles we had to face.
Hmm.
So we ended up forming the foundation, and the foundation is basically we're giving back to youth sports. So whether it's youth football, which Rudy loved to coach, baseball, our little league, Rudy was always there at the games. Um, Football, Moorpark High School football, and then of course our scholarships, which this year we were able to give $4,000 to Moorpark High School athletic seniors. So that was just something, just in a short amount of time to form this foundation. We were able to give back. And Jason, you were a big part of Rudy's Barbecue, and many of our local businesses helped us with that barbecue that we recently had at the park.
Hmm.
Becky Hayden and Seth, they were very helpful with us. But everybody came together, and everybody did it because they knew my brother, and they knew what he stood for, and how he wanted to help. I miss him so much, because he was the one that would keep the family together. Like, we're going to gather at mom's this weekend, or I'm going to barbecue, or that's like my sister and I, we don't have that. Rudy was the only one that had that, and that's what I miss the most. But when the barbecue came to play, it's almost that Rudy put it together and made it happen. And we were just so blessed by the community that came out to support. And I do feel that he is smiling in heaven just by all of this. But But we do miss him, but we know that his legacy will continue, and we will continue to help, all of the youth out there, so that way that, we can pave the way for them for their future.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember the event. It was a great event, and what an awesome way to keep his legacy alive and to honor him. Because, like you said, his spirit will always be there with you and your family and everybody here in this community. And I know that we're going to talk a lot about Moorpark and just the community in general. But I want to give the audience an opportunity, real quick. Several people watching right now live. If you guys have any questions or anything that you want to hear us talk about, anything that you want to ask Robert or myself, please post those in the comments, and we'll definitely um, answer those questions. So let's talk about your calling to become a funeral director. Let's go back a little bit. This story always gives me goosebumps. So you got to tell the whole story and tell everybody how that came to be.
Well, what happened was my grandmother. I was very close to her, and she used to call me her VIP, and she just, my grandma was always a fan even before I was anybody, and she really was definitely my rock. And what happened is, Pauline and I had gotten married, and I ended up working at a few law firms, and ended up at this great law firm where I was making pretty good money, and I was a paralegal, then became the office manager, and we had benefits. Pauline was pregnant with Robbie, and I guess I have to go back a little. My grandmother passed away in 2002, which is going to be 20 years. And I remember my sister and I went to the funeral home, and we had to just get together our funds to be able to afford her funeral. My grandma for years always talked about pre-planning, which I didn't even know what that was at the time. But I used to tell her, Grandma, don't talk about your death. I don't want to go through that. And she pretty much said, I have the dress behind the door. This is where the funds are. And I never wanted to talk about it. But my grandmother ended up getting very sick with a flu, and she was in the hospital for 6 months, and she ended up passing away. Called the funeral home that she had always favored, and they came and picked her up. And moving forward, I was at her viewing, sitting in the chapel alone. My family had gone out for lunch or something, so I remember sitting a few rows back, and her casket was open, and there was a cross hanging in her casket, and I saw it sparkle, like a light just flashed. And I remember at that point I jumped, and I jumped right now, but I jumped because I felt like a hand touch me on the shoulder, and I looked up, and it was the funeral home owner, and he said, "Did you see that light?" And I said, "I did." And he says, "Oh, this is your calling. You saw the light. You're going to be in this industry." I had no idea what he was talking about, and I kind of just laughed, like, this industry, like I'm not going to be in the funeral industry. I don't even, like, really, somebody had told me I was going to do this in high school, I would have laughed at them because it's not me. So I remember, I go back to that light, and then I remember somebody coming up to me at the funeral, and they said, your grandmother's death is going to be used for good. And I remember being so angry at that person, because I'm thinking, how is my grandmother being gone going to be used for good? I was so upset. And then we buried my grandmother, and I felt like, okay, what does it mean by this is your calling? So I ended up talking to the funeral home owner. He says, you know what, come by, take a look at the place, see if this is something you want to do. So I ended up kind of working like $11 an hour. I'd go in and help work services, and just help them, and met a lot of neat people during that time. And I remember it resulted in me leaving work at the law firm during the day, because I would work the services at night, and I wanted to be there to finish the service the next day. So I would kind of sneak off on my lunch and go, help them with the service. And little by little, it ended up being longer and longer and longer. And then one day my boss called me in, and she says, I know what you're doing, and you're going to have to make a choice, because we need you here 100%, but you're not here 100%. And I remember thinking, okay, choice. Well, I pretty much made a choice that day. Pauline was almost ready to have Robbie, And I walked out and I said, okay, I'm going to join this industry. And I do remember someone said, maybe take a leap of faith, just, just let go and try it. And I did. I let go and I tried it. And, I lost a $70,000 a year job with benefits to work for $11 an hour. And
Hmm.
that was, that was difficult. And I don't know if Pauline was happy, or I know my parents weren't happy. No one seemed to be happy, but I remember the voice that said, this is your calling. So, God's not going to
Mhm.
let me down. I
Right.
didn't know what was in store. And anyways, we had Robbie. I ended up going to work for another funeral home. And in just so much time, I talked to my parents, and, they said, we could do this. Like, we could do this ourselves. And Jason, I can't even tell you, like, from that moment to like where I'm at today, it just, spread so fast,
Right.
and I was able to just open up a place where I was able to serve many families in our way and bring our families to serve. And we opened our first location, and then we opened our second, our third, our fourth, our fifth, and we're going to be opening a sixth. So we're just like, again, it still comes from that calling that God called me that day, looking at my grandmother's casket, to where
Hmm.
we're at today. So now I look back and I think, I miss my grandmother so much, but she's with me so much, because had that not happened, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So it definitely was a calling. And I'm always so proud to tell that story, because some people are doing what they may think they like to do in their job, but it's not what they want to do.
Hmm.
And I can't imagine doing anything else. Serving families at their most difficult time is probably the hardest thing for somebody to do in their life.
Hmm.
But it's something that I can do, and be there and be a part of their family. And does it take a toll on you? Yes, it does, because I'm grieving every single day of my life. But I feel okay, and I feel like
Hmm.
I'm where I need to be.
Right. Well, it's just so amazing to me that the death of two very important people in your life has really transformed your life in such a positive way. Right. I
Yes.
mean, it's just taking you in that direction. So I think that that's just something for us to look at sometimes, when we're faced with a difficult situation or a really horrible situation. So there's always something positive and something good that can come from it, and you've obviously shown that. Now we've got a couple people watching. Of course, we've got Mr. Dan Birchfield here watching. So thanks, Birch, for
I
checking in.
Birchfield.
And someone else says, you are meant to do this. Can't thank you enough for all that you did for me and our family in time of need for many more families. And I'm sure, more and more people are going to continue to say that very same thing. Now we have a question. Donna Trell is watching, and she said this question is actually for both of us. I'll let you lead on it. But how do you teach your children to give back to the community?
So my children, I think they learn by example, just because it's something that you really can't teach. Raylene is here with me, and she's learning all she can. I think the other day she was asked, why are you doing this on your summer? And she has the gift, she has the calling. So it's just something that I mean, I see her, and of course we want our kids to do better than we've done.
Hmm.
So I see her, taking that part, of giving back to the community, but she's actually doing it in a more higher standard than I would do. I mean, she's actually out there physically giving back to the community. And we give so much. I mean, I can't tell you how many phone calls, and you get them too. Can you donate to this? Can you give to that? So um, my children, they know that we are servants. It's something that was put on us. So all of them, if I need Robbie or Paul or Presley to do something with the community, they're going to go out and showcase that. So I'm so grateful and so blessed. But again, it's what they see at home to what they go out and do, and that's,
Mhm.
do it better.
Sure. No, and I agree. I think it goes along the same lines. Our children follow our example, and there's been times where I've kind of had to nudge my kids along. As a matter of fact, I we did a food fundraiser for many years. We did a kickathon in our school where we do it with all the kids, and all the kids do this kickathon just like at school. They do a jogathon, and they get sponsors and donations and contributions, and then all that money goes towards us purchasing food to create food baskets that we deliver to Moorpark Pantry Plus. And we had done that for almost 15 years and fed thousands of people with that. And I would always just kind of include my kids on helping us load the truck or helping us put together the baskets. And it's something that we did in our karate classes anyway. So it's something that we really felt the need to kind of just expose them to. And it's just so interesting how sometimes they'll do things without even thinking about it, that is a service or is service based. And for me, going back, as a young teenager, when I opened my business, believe it or not, I was not very service focused. I was very me focused. It actually took my wife to teach me how important service was and how important giving back was. And because I used to ask her, well, why are you doing all this? Because if anybody knows my wife, she gives, everything she can every single day, and with no expectation of anything in return. I was always kind of like, well, if I do this, maybe I'll get this in return. And she was the one that really changed me. So I would really have to contribute most of our giving back to the community to my wife. So if she's watching, thank you for teaching me a
Well,
very
Jackie,
important lesson.
she's the first call, right?
She is the first call in Moorpark
I
almost
do I
every
do want
day.
to I do want to give a shout out to Donna Trella. She does work for us, and she has been such a blessing to have in our ministry here. She's amazing, and we're just so thankful to have her with us, and she's here serving as well, with us. So
That's awesome. That's very cool. Well, I've known Donna for a number of years. Her boys came and took karate class with us many years ago, and I've seen some work that she's done in our church as well. So she's definitely someone that is of service as well. So thank you,
hi,
Daniel Groff,
Daniel.
too.
I saw
Thanks.
Daniel there.
Yep, Daniel's on there. Not sure where he's at today, but thanks for checking in. And anybody else, if you guys have questions, please keep those questions coming. We would love to hear from you guys, hear that you're watching, and hear whatever it is that you want to hear from us. So let's talk about school board. You know, we love we love to talk about all the stuff that's going on in Moorpark, but talk about what you're doing for our school board. You've been a member of the school board now for how many years?
8 years. I've been
Eight
there for
years.
8 years and got elected in 2014, when the elections were at large, for all of Moore Park, and so I was able to do two elections at large. 4 years of being voted by all of Moore Park, and 4 years of being voted by all of Moore Park. And so this next election that will be coming up is going to be a district election. And Moore Park decided to go to district-wide elections a few years ago. So this is the first time I think Nathan and I will not have to run against each other. We both have our own district, but the school board is I'm very proud of the work that everyone is doing and has done. Most importantly, these past 2 years, I mean, it's been very difficult, especially being a parent, having to go through graduation and prom and everything, during the pandemic, from our little ones having to go back to school, from the masks. There's just been so much that we have had to, all of us, all of our community has had to endure and get through. But I'm very proud of Moore Park. I'm proud of our parents, our students, our district, for all the hard work and dedication that they have put, and most importantly, keeping our district students first.
Hmm.
That's what has got us through. Every decision that we make is based on our students. And I'm just so proud of how Moorpark came through and bounced back. And, we're looking forward to next year.
Well, I have a couple questions for you regarding school board. No, number one, how was the decision made? What drove you to run for school board in the first place? Having uh, your own business, right? Being self-employed is very difficult in and of itself. It's definitely a 24/7 gig, right? I mean, there's no time off from your job, but yet you still serve on many other boards, but now you're on school board. What was the decision? Why did you want to be on the school board?
Well, I was on the library board at the time, and I got a call from the former superintendent, and she asked me to go to lunch, and she said, we need somebody, well, someone like you to run for the school board. That would be, great. You're the right person, and it would be a great, you'd be a great asset to the board. Well, I didn't know that there was going to be seven other people running, so it was my first election. I ran against some great people. Some of them were still good friends. It wasn't, everybody was very cool to each other. And so, she at first said, it's only 2 meetings a month. And, you'll have time to run your business and be with your family. And there's not much that's needed, of course, other than the meetings. So I said, oh, okay. So I went home and told Pauline, and mind you, Pauline, I didn't share this story. You open a mortuary, I'm leaving you. You do politics, I'm leaving you. She hasn't she hasn't left yet, but so anyways, I ran for the board and made that decision. With everything, my decision is based on prayer. And I ran and was elected. And of course, it wasn't the 2 meetings a month, because being an elected official, it's what you make of it. So it's pretty much like I made, I wanted to be a part of the school. I wanted to see what was going on with, our band program and our chorus and our football games, our baseball games, any events that were being done. So one thing that's good about our superintendent, Dr. Kelly Hayes, is she'll send us messages to say that this is going on this week or this is going to happen. So us as board members make the decision if we're able or available to go, we'll go. And I do try to do, to make the most of the meetings or events that I can make. So it's like anything, Jason. I mean, it's what you make of it. But
Hmm.
the decision was just pretty much an overnight decision, and put myself on Facebook, created a page, and the rest is history.
Right, right. Well, I can't remember the last time that I didn't see you in an event. So yeah, I think it was a little bit more than 2 meetings a month. You've stayed pretty busy with that. Um, my second question regarding the school board is, how do you deal with being a parent of children that are in the school district and being a board member and quite honestly hearing a lot of the chatter that goes along? How do you focus that and kind of separate the two from being a parent and being a board member? Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, and that is one thing that um, has been somewhat difficult,
Mm-hmm.
um, but for the most part, I try to not engage. Well, I never will engage in social media. That's one thing that if there's a topic there or a concern. These are items that I think sometimes the community will say, well, why aren't the board members responding? Or, well, these may be items that we have to vote on. And if we respond there, we may not be able to vote on them. So I always tell parents, reach out to me if there's a concern, and we'll see if we can resolve that. We've been able to resolve a lot of concerns, but getting back to your question, with my children, it's hard because our children are our children. They're not perfect, and we don't want them to be perfect. So there has been you know, times where I've had to go to the principal's office and I have to tell the principal that I'm here as a dad. I'm not here as a board member, because I do want to be able to speak to them like a dad, because I do
Hmm.
have my concerns and my opinions. But for the most part, I've been able to just separate that, and you know, it's worked. I mean, again, trying to stay off social media. Many people bring me concerns and share those with me. But of course, it's not something that I can vote on. There's still 4 other members up there that 5 of us make one. So the best thing to do is what I do is take it to our superintendent, and she'll handle it for us. And she'll respond on behalf of the board. And of course, I've had many conversations all through the night. I've been at Ralph's, with my ice cream in the shopping cart, and I'm talking to someone for 2 to 3 hours. So like when Pauline knows I'm going to the store and I say I'll be right back, I'm not going to be right back, because that's like an open public forum for Moorpark.
Hmm.
But I enjoy that. I enjoy hearing, the highlights of what we're doing good, and I also like to hear the concerns, because there's a lot. I mean, we're school board members, but we're not in the day-to-day operations. We're not in the district all day
Hmm.
long. So when I hear something like, "Did you hear this and that?" I didn't. I'm sorry, but again, I have 2 little ones. I have an older one. I have one who just graduated. So it's you get to a point where you're able to separate that from
Hmm.
board versus dad.
Well, and the last question kind of goes along with what we were just talking about is, you wear so many hats. You're a dad, you're a board member, you're involved as a sponsor, you help run the foundation. Uh, how do you balance life in general, being so busy and wearing so many hats?
It, it's it's not easy, and like I said, I start my day with prayer and I end my day with prayer, and I think that if I didn't have um, spiritual help, I wouldn't be able to function and do everything that I'm doing. I sometimes I have some downtime, like on a Sunday, and I'm still working. My mind doesn't know how to turn itself off. That's the
Hmm.
problem. After COVID, I know I got some major PTSD from that, but I have to turn it off. For a while there, I would close my eyes and just see caskets all over, because that's what I had in my funeral homes. But you know what? God, take that out of my mind. Help me. It's tough. And as you know, because you're in the same position, when you have all these hats, and sometimes it's hard to say no. You take on a new thing, and everybody, I get that question a lot. It's like, how do you do it? And I
Hmm.
just saw you here, and now I'm seeing you there. What do you do? And the only way I can say it is that I pray, and you know I have that spiritual help, because Robert can't do it. I alone can do nothing, but with the help from the gift that I was given, I can do everything. So that's how I live life, pretty much.
Now, kind of a little more personal. What are things that you enjoy doing when you're not working, when you're not spending time with your family, when you're not spending time in prayer? What are things that kind of just help you relieve your stress and stuff that you just enjoy when you have nothing else to do?
I do like to, ironically, I like to go to cemeteries. So I like to go visit. When we go bury someone, I have to leave because I have the hearse. It's not like I can go walk around and enjoy. But I do tend to I love history. So anything historic about a cemetery, I love to see that. So that's something that, just even though it seems like it's in the line of work, it's really not, because I'm looking at historic stuff. I like to go to Disneyland. Disneyland. I mean, there's just so many happy people there. I deal with sorrow every day of my life. So just to sit there on a bench and watch people walk by, it just makes me happy, so
Mhm.
those little things help me. I mean, other than that, I mean, it's just sitting in my backyard with my family is happiness too.
Mhm. Well, we both know that Disneyland has the absolute best people watching on the
Oh yeah,
planet, right?
they do. They do.
So, so you brought up history, which leads right into your family history goes back 100 years or more. Talk about the first members of your family that came to Moorpark, and just kind of the history of your family, and then talk about your current family.
Well, and this is just my wife loves to hear my dad talk about old Moorpark. Yes, I love beans. She one of the last memories was my dad's birthday, and my brother was up at the house, and my parents live like up on a hill that overlooks all of Moorpark. So my dad was actually born there. But I remember, my brother and dad, they were kind of going back and forth on what they knew about old Moorpark, and just to have that as like my last memory of my brother, just with the sunset and everything, that was it just truly made me appreciate the history we have in Moorpark. My great grandmother Petra, she was the first Hispanic to purchase property in Moorpark, and we're very proud of that. It was down near Flory,
Hmm.
and it was there was no Hispanics in that tract. That would be like equivalent to probably the country club or that area, or somewhere else. Just those homes, the way they were built. Um, I don't mean that when I say no Hispanic, but just the housing track, because it was the only housing track in Moorpark.
Hmm.
So she wanted to buy a house there, and she wanted to, raise her family. And she did. She bought the house. She started to raise her family, but then she got worried because the kids would have to cross the tracks to go to school.
Hmm.
So she ended up moving to Charles Street, and she bought the judge's home up there. So, and we're talking like the family came here, like I said, over 100 years ago. So my grandfather, my great grandfather, from what I understand, he died very young. But my dad said he was very well known in the community. His name was Joe, and he was friends with the mayors, the honorary mayors. He was friends with like the politicians. He was very involved in the community. So my
Hmm.
middle name is Joseph, so there has to be some sort of connection there.
Hmm.
But then my grandfather, had his children, and my dad was born, I think, during like the war or something, up at the property where they live. So he actually was born in that house, not the house that's there now, but the house that was there before. And just history just came on from there. I mean, we have a lot of relatives in the community, that we're related to almost everybody, but we're all I know it's ironic, but we're all servants, and it dates back to my grandmother Petra. She was very well known in the community as well, and if you looked at Mike Winter's book, or A Diamond from Moorpark, she's featured in there, again, as the first Hispanic to purchase property in Moorpark. But it's really neat to be able to talk to my father and hear all of the stories about when Moorpark was not even a town, and hear where the jail was, the hotel was, the restaurants, the founding families. Just to see who was all involved. And then for myself, I remember my neighbor Nicole and we were actually still in the homes where we grew up. We used to sit on LA Avenue, and we could count the cars drive by. LA Avenue was just a two-way road, but we would sit there and like count cars. There wasn't trucks, it was just cars. And it was really neat because she had a fruit stand on LA Avenue. And so we got to see a little bit of history. I remember Hughes was the first grocery store that was built, and Wendy's was the first. It was Wendy's and Taco Bell, I think, that came first. So just to see everything that has arrived after that, it's so crazy. And for my parents to see the growth, my parents were high school sweethearts, and their parents lived next door to each other. The great grandparents lived next door to each other. So there's a lot of history here in town, and I'm grateful that we're able to pass that down to our children, and my dad's still here with us, and he's able to share that with my children so they can hear the stories, and we love hearing historic stories. I mean, that's just what Moorpark was founded on.
No, absolutely. I mean, and I just every time I get a chance to talk with you, I'm always asking, little tidbits of information, little history. 'Cause, I didn't move here until about 1993, so a lot had happened then, but a lot has happened since then.
Yeah.
Which we're still that small town community that everybody loves. But it is growing, and it's exciting to see us grow. It's exciting to see more businesses flourish here, and the schools fill up, and just everybody gets to be part of that history. Now, tell us a little bit more. You've mentioned your wife Pauline. You've talked a little bit about your kids, but kind of brag on them for a minute.
So my daughter Raylene, she's here helping me at the funeral home, and she's doing a phenomenal job. She's in summer right now. She's going to Cal State Fullerton, studying business management, so she can teach her dad how to run the business correctly. Um, my son Robbie, he's been playing varsity baseball for Moorpark High School, and he just loves baseball. I mean, he just everything about him is baseball. Goes to sleep with his mitt and everything. So he's very very into it, and he's very good. Paul is also doing baseball and soccer, and Presley, she does her arts, and she's just Miss Busybody. I call her the real controller of the home because she tends to run the home. But here, I have my sister with me. She works with me here, and we have a great team. They're all like family. I have my parents. We built them a home in the back, and they've been staying with us. So it's nice to have them close to us, even though they were still close to us by living up the street from us. But it's nice to have them there with us. So it's great, Jason. I can't complain. I have my uncle lives up the street, and everybody's in town, and when I need help, everybody's there for us.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, it shows that the more you give and the more you support others, that support comes right back to you. So it's not a surprise at all. As you guys are still watching, still tons of people watching right now, and we've had a few comments and questions. Would love to hear any questions or any comments that you have. Please just drop those in the comments. We got about maybe five more minutes or so. But we're talking with Robert Perez, and I would love to hear more from you guys as well. And let's see, Facebook user says, I can honestly say I'm glad my dad chose to settle in Moorpark. I would not want to live anywhere else. This is Moorpark. I know that's Gabby. It says Facebook user, but I know that that's Gabby, right? She's got to hashtag that. Hashtag this is Moorpark, right?
Yes, she should. She should own that. But yes, it's Gabby, and her family are amazing. Her parents, they used to have these parties where all of Moorpark would come. My grandparents would go there, and that's how we know Gabby, because my grandparents, were best friends with her parents, and I mean, they even growing up myself, Gabi still had the best parties. So, and as you know, there's delicious, her food and everything. I mean, they make you feel like family. And I remember going many times and her mom welcoming me in and making me a nice bean and cheese burrito, and, just making me feel so welcome. And, this is Moorpark. Those are great families. And I was so honored to be able to meet them.
Well, you mentioned founding families in Moorpark. Can you name some of the founding families and just some of the contributions that maybe they made early on?
Well, yeah. So there's like yesterday I was with Evie, or Saturday with Evie, and she's part of the Spencer family. So I took my kids over because we were doing a memorial at her home, and the kids were just so fascinated with the history because they own Spencer's Market, and her family owned a majority of all of like Moorpark, and then eminent domain came in, they took it for the school. But the Spencers are very well known. As I mentioned, the Gonzalez's, Gabi and her family, they've been here for many years. A lot of people. I was at a funeral this morning, and a lot of these people who work for the school district or who has worked for the school district in the past, a lot of them went to high school here in Moorpark. So,
Hmm.
ran into Marie Sollenberger today. Delpha Owen. There's just many people who are Moorpark legends, and it's great to see a lot of them still here in town, because it's we want to welcome them, but we also want to bottle up what their secret. We want to bottle up their stories, because once they're gone, those stories are gone too. So I wish Moorpark had more. I know we have a historical society, but I wish we had more, just consistency with it, so that way these people can share their stories before they're gone. I saw Facebook posted a neat little article about legends. Yes, the Castros, the Barreras, the Waters. There's so many in town. Just to see that people who made Moorpark.
Hmm.
Lots of families. Yes.
Well, it sounds like a great project for you, Robert, to write your own book.
Maybe that will be my foundation when I'm gone.
No, I've read Mike Winter's book. I need to read it again. I'd love to read it again. But when you live in a place that you love, I mean, I've actually lived in Moore Park now. I grew up in Newbury Park, but I mean, I've lived here longer than I lived there. So I've lived here more than, longer than anywhere else in my life. And it just, when you live somewhere for a long time and you get to know the people that are here and you have these deep roots. Fortunately, we have several businesses that keep us tied into the community. It's just so awesome to listen to all the history and to listen to the stories from you. So I
Well,
appreciate you sharing
it's
that with
not
us.
it's not necessarily the past history. It's history in the making, because you're now a part of history too with everything you've done. So I mean, the Flames will be in a history book someday in Moorpark. So there's a lot of great people, that do so much good for our community, that will be in a future history book.
And again, I thank you for that, by the way. I think that it's because of, the people in our community that care so much that makes our community to continue to be so strong and such a great place to live. Because, Thousand Oaks is huge and Simi Valley is huge. I mean, I'm sure, and I know there's a lot of people in those communities that are doing great things. But, sometimes in that bigger community, you just don't see it and you don't feel it. I think that's probably the bigger thing is that you don't feel it because when I walk through Moore Park, I just kind of have that feeling of the history. I feel that community support.
Well, it's great, because if you drive down like High Street, you'll see Daniel, getting stuff down and putting in his car or in his office. You'll see Danny, out there doing. It's great to see these people, because I remember driving down Poindexter, and you'd be working late at night, and I thought, look at Jason, like he owns the business, he's working, he's actually out there teaching. It's great to see that, because that's what Moorpark is. I mean, you see a lot of there's a lot of hard workers in our community that people do not realize how hard they work, because they're not out there bragging. But when you see it, you're like, wow, they're good people. They work
Hmm.
hard. And one of the things I enjoy is that, you know, I said earlier, going in the grocery store, how neat is it to pretty much know everybody that's in there? And like you said, Thousand Oaks, you would not see that. Even here in Camarillo, you do not see that. But in Moorpark, you're going to know one, two, maybe the whole store when you walk into the store, including the checker. So I mean, how cool is that? And you're going to see people, teachers shopping there, and it's just Moorpark is just the best kept secret. And no matter how much we grow, we still have our heritage in there, and all of our um, you know historic people. So
Hmm.
I'm
No,
excited.
absolutely. Well, guys, we're getting ready to wrap up. Any last minute questions, please post them in the comments. But just want to take a minute. Once again, Robert, thank you so much
Thank you,
for
Jay.
for all that you do in the community. And you're always someone that I can call on if I have a question, if I need help, whether it's school board related or not, business related or not. We've had many conversations, and just appreciate your support, your friendship, and the goodwill that you promote in our community. It's great to have leaders like you here. So thank you, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Yep, a lot of fun, guys. Thank you for all your questions, comments. Feel free to share this video and let other people watch it. It'll live on my YouTube channel, which you can simply find at Master Motivation. Lots of guests coming up over the next several weeks, all the way through 2022. As a matter of fact, I'm starting to book 2023 as we speak. So it's been a lot of fun doing the videos and just bringing some great leaders and great motivators online with us. Robert, can you share anything else with anybody watching right now? Maybe just that, 30 seconds of motivational speech if you have one.
Well, I think as you're talking, I think what's great about this, and when I hear motivation, is just being positive. Just there's been so much negativity in the world, and there's been so much just drama. So I would just encourage everybody to stay positive. Smile. I of everyone see people at their most difficult time, and dealing with these tragedies that have happened. And you know what, it's just you got to just stay positive, because we're only on this earth for a very short amount of time. So if you can make it a good time, make it a good time, and smile, and just keep positive.
Love it. Well, thank you for that, Robert. Appreciate you. And I hope everybody has a great week. Hope this video helps start your week off great. Share it with everyone. Be positive. Give people a smile. And make it a great week. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.